Hey guys, Josh Ensing here again from 616clean.com. Just wanted to come with another video here. It's pretty late at night. It's about midnight, but just kind of getting ready for tomorrow, getting all my tools all arranged, and figured I would do another video. I've been really busy, just kind of getting things started, and so yeah, it's been a busy couple days for me, quoting jobs, doing jobs, and it's it's getting busy. So I figured I would talk a little bit about some of the deionized water system stuff, and then I had a few questions. One of the questions I had was kind of modifying nozzles, and for the most part, like I modify like that nozzle right there. I mean, I have a lot of these, but I made that one. It's not to make something from scratch like this. I wouldn't recommend that unless you have access to like a 3D CNC machine, which fortunately I do. We have a few of them at the shop, and then I would say I have at least 20 friends that own machine shops, so I can kind of envision something and then go there and kind of bring it to life. So to say you can make your own tip like that, you absolutely can. It's a little trial and error, and you got to really understand the whole dynamics of flow, but I wouldn't recommend it. As far as like making your own tips and changing spray patterns, a lot of that's really just done with the nozzle. If you spray your equipment depending on the length of your hose, your pump, your gallons per minute, all the factors that go into anywhere from your intake hose all the way to your pump inlet to the very tip of your nozzle at your gun. All that are factors that change the way your system's going to spray. You could have the very same pump as me with it have it set at the very same setting as me, and if your hose is shorter or a different diameter, or if your plumbing and stuff like that's different, well, you're gonna have a different result, and you might want a different tip. But they sell them. They're meg nozzles. So really, you can ask me. I mean, these are the 4 standards that I use, and I'm gonna switch these up a little bit. I'm not so happy with these. Actually, that's not the one. It's up there. I can't remember where I put it, but it's floating around here somewhere. But I'm using like I'm trying to think here. It's something, this is it. It's sorry, got so many of these J-rods. I believe it's can't see the numbers. I think it's a 25-30, a 25-40, and this one here is a 15-30, and then a 00-30. Sometimes I'll use a 00-40, and I have another J-rod with some specialty nozzles, but for the most part, anywhere from a 15 to a 40 is what's going to be pretty standard for like a 12-volt pump, and then you got your different spray patterns. I really like to keep it from a 25 degree to a 15. Sometimes you'll have an 05 orifice. It's kind of nice for when you want to spray a little further distance, but yet have like a decent coverage pattern. And you guys can mess around with that, and just depends on how you like to spray roofs too. Do you like to walk roofs? Do you like to shoot them from the ground? I have setups for all that kind of stuff. And I'm not here to tell you that you need to like set all your stuff up like mine or get as into it as mine. But that's just me, and that's how I'm doing it. This one here for a pressure washer, if you guys are in the pressure washing too, this is a original shooter tip. You'll just see that I modified it. I put wrench spots on there. I believe he cuts wrench spots in there now. His name's Guy Blackman. Real good guy. He makes a nice stainless steel shooter tip. I just changed the internals, not the orifice size. The orifice size right there, and like about to right there in the barrel is still the same. So my exit size is still the same. I just changed the internal water collection point without getting too into depth. It basically makes it spray better for my machine is what I found out. So yeah, I don't want to bore you with that, but anyways, kind of moving on. I'm gonna kind of jump around. It might be a little bit longer video, but I hear from people that I talk a little quick, and maybe kind of talk over some people's heads, and then other people I'm sure are very familiar with what I'm telling them. So I'll try to slow down. I wanted to talk about deionized water systems. So when you have a deionized water system, some guys will have, I'll try to set the phone up here. Some guys are gonna have like a system where the thing about the system that they might have is going to be, they might have a RO filter, so a reverse osmosis filter. The thing about that is when you have an RO filter before a deionized resin tank or resin filter, it prolongs the life. Same with a carbon filter. What you see right here, this is a carbon filter. So you're going to have a little bit less flow out of an RO filter. They really restrict the flow a lot. You guys fell down. But anyways, with my system here, the key that I found to be able to get optimum water flow is, one, your intake line. When you take water in, and when I say that, I mean taking water all the way from the spigot where you're connected to, all the way into the tanks, and then into your reel. All that matters. So what I'll tell you is, until you go into your hose reel, you want to run 3/4 inch line. Maybe you run 1 inch line, but typically 3/4. So if you run a 3/4 inch garden hose, and on my garden hose, you see, I have it sectioned out. So I only take off the amount of garden hose that I need, because it's sectioned out into like 16 and like 22 foot lines. So I only have just a specified amount, the shortest possible, to get into my inlet ports down here. See, I have my inlet ports. So I have a really short 3/4 inch line, so it's maximum flow, into a full flow 3/4 inlet. And then it goes from the inlet into my carbon filter, which is a high flow carbon filter. That's a 20 gallon per minute filter. From there, it'll go into my mixed bed resin tank, 3/4 inch line, like I said, into another mixed bed resin tank, all 3/4, and then it goes up into this valve. And from this valve, I go 3/4 into my hose reel. See? So it's all 3/4, and then it's a 1/2 inch hose reel manifold, and then it goes into a 3/8 inch line. So that's how I'm getting the distance. That's 376 feet on that reel. If I shorten that up, I'd have even better flow, but it flows pretty good even on a decent well. And then your big restrictor usually in flow is this line right here. If you notice that your brush is not getting the flow that you want, you can step it up to a bigger line like this. And I'll run that on like this pole here. That's a high mod carbon fiber pole. I got a couple of them, but so yeah, that's how I'm doing that. It really, how you do the entire system is what really matters at the gun. And when I say gun, I mean water fed pole brush or nozzle, whatever it might be. Everything goes into account. So being smart about your intake, your transfer lines from the tanks to your hose reel, all that really matters. And not only does your line matter, but the fittings matter too. You see a lot of people do this. So they'll take a fitting let's see here. Take it this one here. So these guns, when people buy these guns, the handle, I took the handle off this one, but it usually looks like this. So when people buy these, what you see here is they put a quick connect there. They come with a quick connect, some of them, if you buy them. And what you'll have here is they'll have a reducer in here, and it will actually go into here. So it'll screw into there, and then inside of there, then you put one of these like a male ended, so it'll have the thread sticking out. That also goes into the reducer. The problem being is you're making a deadhead for your water. So instead of the water being able to go past something, it's got to crash into it and go around it. So with here, what I do is I have a 1/2 inch PVC pipe in there. I get a small, like a nipple, and then this fitting actually goes over top of that. That way when the water comes through, it can still go through a 1/2 inch opening. It goes into here, and then this fitting right here, I make these custom. It's machined out, so it's like coned in as much as possible, and then it flows in there nicely. And then instead of having a male quick connect, I have a female quick connect, so the water can go through and down. You want to go downhill. I say over under, you know, you want your fitting to go over and then under. So basically, it's kind of the way I would like to talk about it. But if you really think about it and use common sense when it comes to this stuff, it's kind of a no-brainer. You don't want water flowing out to crash into anything if you can help it. And I do that with all my fittings. You know, if I can have something a little bit oversized, especially like on like my ball valves and stuff like this, if I can have, oh man, no way, that's crazy. I was just raving on and on about this ball valve. There she is. She's cracked. Ladies and gentlemen, the first one bites the dust. 4 years old, and she finally cracked. It's not all the way through, but oh yeah, I guess it is. So I finally cracked a ball valve. You know what's funny though is, ironically, my wife worked with me for the first time today, and I bet she chucked it down on the ground. So either that or it got ran over by a vehicle. I had customers pulling in and out, but just a small little hairline fracture. That's all right. I got about 20 more of them, and I ordered more online last night. I actually, super hard to find these. I talked about that in a video before, but it's actually a George Fisher Viton valve. This ball valve is, and it was made for like military aircraft, if I understand it correctly, but they're super hard to find. I've been looking since last June. I bought like 18 of them or something like that last June, and I finally found 6 more of them get listed last night, and I was gonna buy all 6, but I was nice to a friend and let him get 3. So anyways, another one bites the dust there. I guess I'll replace it tomorrow. I got more of them, extra ones hanging out in there. So anyways, where were we? What do you guys think of that? Let me know what you think of this. That's actually a picture of me. I made it for my logo. You can see the little ball valve on there and the J-rod. And then I had it silhouetted and made into a rubberized sticker. I put them up at like bars and stuff like that when I'm snowmobiling, so people can, you gotta work on that branding, you know. Anyways, I was gonna go over some other stuff. I just can't really think off the top of my head. I'm trying to kind of slow down and over explain things. Yeah, I don't know. One of the things that I kind of didn't talk about before is bigger fuel cells. I was talking to Mike is the guy's name. I was talking to him about that last night, but this fuel cell will run out in a day with this bigger machine. and I'll probably end up I can put on this shelf right here a 17-gallon fuel cell, and that's kind of my plan. Like this guy here and this 390, I think that's like a 6.6 or 6.8 gallon. But this fuel cell, that wasn't very expensive, and that thing kicks ass. I can run it for a couple days without even thinking about filling it up. So, and then some of you guys, you might have a question about like exhaust. I didn't really have room for my muffler under there. Like I would have got hot and stuff like that sitting there. So I had a friend of mine machine a stainless steel flange right here, and then I got a bunch of different stainless steel pipe and put it down there, and then on the bottom side is a MagnaFlow muffler, and you won't be able to see it, I don't think, but yeah, I don't think so. Nope. See, and then I got my pipe like running out the side. You can't see it, but anyways, and then yeah, I didn't show you guys, but what I do too is in the back of my truck here, I keep a leaf blower, and then I usually have two surface cleaners, 2 leaf blowers, and then I put like my cooler in here so we can have cold drinks, but it's not really been that hot yet here. I think it was like 60 today, so and it all kind of like hides behind there, so it's kind of convenient. Yeah, I don't know, you guys can comment and stuff, let me know what you think. There's a few other things I can kind of go over too, and one of those is this here. If you see here, this right here, that's actually a leg, this rubber piece. It's for like the bottom of like a furniture chair or something like that. But the reason why I have that is because my lines, instead of running into like a bulkhead like you see here, or like these ones are here, what happens is this is always a stress point. You always have a point of stress right here on the bulkhead. So you have problems with that stuff like leaking is what you realize. Same with like that valve there, you know. They make them, I said something to a power wash store, and I don't know if they did it because of me or what, but I recommended that they have something to hold that valve, and they came out with something now. But going back to that is how I run it is, you'll see how I run that PVC pipe, and then that part right there, that's a slotted filter. And so what I do is these 2 lines right here, they are running through that tube. They make the bend at the end, and they're in the filter like pointed this direction. That way they're still filtered, but they're just a wide open hose. So you don't have to worry about stressing a bulkhead, because it's not actually running through the bulkhead. That it doesn't have to rely on the bulkhead or anything else to seal it off to be airtight. And then this one is the same thing, it's just a lot longer, and I have both of them ran into there. So the advantage of that is, so you can see how I left my chemical on. This is like one of the only times I've ever done that. See how it says SH and this one's over to water? I ran out of fuel in this sucker today. That's why I'm gonna get a bigger fuel cell. So I never rinsed that out. Never do that, by the way. I just don't want to start my machine up because I just thought of it, and it's like 12:30 at night. But anyways, you can flip this valve, so like when I want to rinse this out, I'll take my bypass here. So you got your chemical injector. It's your chemical injector. I run Allison. I would turn this like that. What that does is shuts the flow off to here, so the water doesn't want to go, because the water will take the path of least resistance, and inside of these downstream injectors is a very small orifice. So right now I shut that flow around so it's not bypassing my injector. So what happens is it'll run through here, and if you put a large orifice tip or open your water flow all the way up, it will siphon chemical, or if I have this thing turned this way, it'll siphon water to rinse my injector out. So when I want to rinse my injector out, instead of like putting it in a bucket or whatever, you just flip that deal and flip that. And then if I want to open my flow up, you just flip that right there. And then it'll, instead of going through here, it will open your water flow up and go around. And then into my hose reel. And whatever anybody says, and I'm going to prove this theory, because if you're on the gun, when somebody opens that sucker up, when they actually, if you're on the gun and I tell my guy, or today it was my wife, if you're on the gun and you say, hey, hit my bypass, and you're, you know, putting chemical on the side of the house, and then they open it up so it's bypassing the injector, it's a huge difference in flow. I'm going to buy a digital flow meter for high pressure. I just haven't got around to it. And then I also have a digital one for like a pressure gauge. So I'll be, it's a vacuum and pressure. But basically, with that, I'll be able to tell my digital pressure with whatever gun or nozzles or whatever's going on at the end of my hose. I'll be able to tell the pressure changes all the way to like the second decimal. And then with that too, I'll be able to literally flip that bypass on or off and can tell you digital, you know, this is, okay, it changed it 1.5 gallons per minute. If I have an 8 gallon per minute pressure washer wide open with my ball valve and somebody hits the bypass, well, if it's only running 6 and then they hit the bypass, so it's bypassing around the injector and it jumps up to 8, well, there you go. That's point proven right there. It's, you're gonna get a, you know, another 2 gallons per minute. So I hope I'm not going too fast. Sometimes I get a little bit worked up on this stuff because I'm so interested in it. But anyways, I think that's gonna be it for tonight, boys and girls. I got a bunch of stuff I need to work on in the morning, replace that ball valve and all that stuff. But please comment with anything you want to see, you want to hear, that's interesting to you. And we'll see you guys in the next one for Soft Wash Science. This is Josh with 616clean.com.